Hello, and this is a quick tutorial about using the new Google Forms for seeking participant feedback, surveys, and other details. So let's quickly go to our Google account. So I'm in my Google Drive and I have different forms in here because I have searched it using the type form owned by me, and that's why I am looking at all the different Google Forms that I have created. Um, to create a Google form, I can go into New, and right here, in addition to Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Slides, if you go into More, Google Forms show up. So let's go in there and let's create a new form. So this is where the new form, which is an untitled form, gets created. So the first thing we want to do is label this form. So this is our trial Google form. And it is going to say that it's always a good idea to have form descriptions so that you can explain what this form is about or what the feedback you're seeking from the participants. So here is an example of one of our student home internet survey where you have the title of the form and then you have the description of what you're seeking. Here is another one where we have the professional development survey for middle school, and there is a description. So in here, this is to try out new features of Google Forms, right? So we are going to create that. So first thing is an untitled question, and let's say I want to create a question. See, what is your name? And you can see that as soon as I type the question, Google recognized it that it's probably going to need a short answer text. So that was a really nice little way of recognizing and anticipating user need. You can also add an image here if you want with that question. And out here you have this, you can duplicate a question, you can delete this question, or you can make this question a required one for your audience so that they have to answer this question before they can move on to the next one. So that's a nifty little trick. Up here on the Google form, we also want to add some features. So we can do that by going here, which says customize theme, and I can choose an image from the many images that are already available to me. So I can choose one of these images, or I can, go through the illustrations, the birthday images, so on and so forth, as per my requirement. I can upload an image, or I can also use some of the photos that I might have in my drive, and I can insert that into my form. So I'm doing that, and that will give me a nice little header. And right here, I can also choose the theme color. So I can choose, as I'm choosing different theme colors, it's automatically going to assign that theme color to my palette. So I can change that, or I can stick to the this theme color. If I want to change my background color, I can do that right here. So these are some of my background colors. And right below here, I have some font style choices. I can go from basic to decorative to formal to more playful style. It's always good to be aware that when we choose a style like decorative, it might look good to us. However, visibility for our audience is very important. So sometimes sticking to basic or formal placed font style is always very helpful. So these are just some of the options to change the appearance of your Google Forms. So this is the basic, and then you can always preview your Google form right here. So that eye icon allows you to look at your Google form and preview it. So let's look at our first question, and we have a short answer option. But in here, we can see that there are multiple different options. In addition to short answer, we have a paragraph option where the user can write a bigger paragraph. We have a multiple choice checkbox and drop down menu option. These three are very popular uses of options. Then you have a filed upload option wherein you can actually have the users upload a file, say you want them to sign a contract or look at a particular document and sign that document. You could have that as a file upload option. In addition to that, these are three options which are utilized quite often. Linear scale, where you could have a scale from 0 to 5, say never to rarely to often, and things like that. You can also have a multiple choice grid or a checkbox grid. And in addition to that, you can have date or time that the audience can respond with as well. So let's go to our next option. And in here, we can, let's see, we create a multiple choice option. So in here, let's say we create a question. How is your day going so far? A simple question. And let's see, the options are great. You can add another option, okay. Another option, not so great. Um, and you can also have an other option where the input can be added by the audience. So that's another question that you've added. So this is where you can add different questions. This plus icon right here allows you to add different questions. This one here allows you to import questions from your many different forms that you've already created, and you have a complex question that you want to take from one of the existing forms. So I could go into one of my other forms and I can borrow a question from there as well. So I'm going to cancel on that. This here is an option to add a title or description. So you can have, say, a title of right in here. So I'm going to go into this form, and you can see that I could very easily add a title here. So let's say keep going. May not be the best title, but on to the next form. So that is a title that'll show up. So let's say we have this, and then you have the title showing up just as a sort of a divider between the two questions that I've asked so far. So I'm going to delete that. And then what you have here is something that you can add an image for. So you could upload an image. You can also have, you can have the camera take an image. You can add it by URL. You can choose your image from your photos, from your Google Drive, or you can do a Google image search. And that's always a great way of looking into content that's copyright free from your Google image search. Sometimes this images option is also used in quizzes and tests so that you can add an image and then ask questions related to that image. So or you can add an image which says thank you at the end of your survey, and you can insert that, and that would be an image that shows up. And you would basically see it as at the end of your form you have a nice little multilingual thank you that you've added. So those are some of the image options. In addition to that, you can also add a video. So let's look at, you can go to YouTube and you can add a video about, say, about the content that you would like to add. If you want your audience to look at a video and then respond to that video, then you can add a link or you can search for that. So let's say I want them to view Gandhi's Salt March video So I can search it on YouTube, and then maybe I can add um, an audio clip or a video clip from YouTube directly into my form, and then I have questions that I would like them to address. So I can add questions right after that YouTube clip, which will show up in my form right here. So I can have the video, and then I can have some of the questions related to that video. So that's a nifty little trick. In addition to that, this option right here allows you to add sections. Usually it's a good practice to add 4 to 5 questions to a section instead of having a long list of questions in Google Form, because the audience, as they are taking the survey or answering some of the participant questions, can get overwhelmed if you have more than 8 or 10 questions in one section. So it's always a good idea to add a section. You can modify it according to what your sections could be. So in here we have multiple. So I'm going to show you the form. You can see that there are 5 sections which are about specific topics and specific PDs or professional developments that teachers took. And then there are different types of questions that are um, included in individual sections. So in order to take the test, I can check on to the form, and then I can click next, and it will take me to the next section, so on and so forth. So that's a very good way of focusing and distributing the questions to relevant sections as they appear. So I'm going to delete this section, and now I have um, yeah. So I have all of these features, and then last but not the least, it is very important to see how your form is, um, you know, you to preview your form. You can see the form right in here. You can also go into the settings menu right here, and you can see that you can choose the option of collecting email responses from your audience so that you have their email responses. You can give them a response receipt, so you can check that. And you always have an option of if the respondent requests it or always. So those are some of the options. You can restrict to the users, in our case, Watertown Public Schools, or you can restrict them to one response. You can do either of those options, and you can also, respondents can edit after submit. You can give them that option or see the summary of the charts and the text responses. The presentations is a nice little menu that it shows a progress bar. So if you check on this, it might show them, if you have multiple sections, it will show them you are 33% through, or you're 60% through, or 66% through, and that's what will showcase on their form if you check on the show progress bar. The shuffle question order option is a bit tricky, because if you shuffle question order, it can really mix up the questions and can create a confusion. So use this option only if you have a linear question, linear form with questions that you don't mind being shuffled in. And you can also show them a link to submit another response. You can do that, and you can add a confirmation message. Quizzes is another option where you want to turn your form into a quiz, and you can also have missed questions option and correct answer option in there, which can be added in our advanced form screencast. So these are just a few options right in here. And I can save that. I can add to my form right here, and then I can go into the responses section. Right now I don't have any responses because no one has really responded to this form, but I can go into the create spreadsheet option, and this will create a new spreadsheet into my Google Drive. and I can actually go into the spreadsheet and I can see the timestamp, the email addresses that of my audience that has responded, their name, how is their day going so far, and information about their form. So here I have a quick output from one of the other forms where you can see that there are 44 responses that I have received. And in this case, you can see that there are 1,115 responses that we have received so far. So you can go into the responses section and you'll be able to see all the data that's in there. You can also see it in spreadsheet format, which is always very helpful because it allows you to look into and sort out the responses and analyze them. So this is a quick overview of the Google Forms. There are multiple ways in which you can create your Google Forms, and you can make them multi-sectional. You can have um, sort of you can use different types of options that are available to you, but forms in general are really very useful to seek participant feedback as well as input for surveys or even for quizzes and things like that. So thank you again. I hope this basic Google Form tutorial is helpful for you, and we hope to add an advanced Google Form features tutorial to the screencast very soon. Thank you again.